It's fun, it's entertainment, and we're having a wonderful time. Ow!
By far my favorite mountain up here in Colorado.
I like to go on adventures.
Look at the scenery up here. I mean, you don't get much better than that.
Welcome to the 25th season of Colorado Getaways. Here's your host, Jim Veneman.
Well, the summer season is in full swing in Colorado. So much to do, so little time. So let's get ready to hit the road. Coming up, we head into some rugged country on this southern Colorado train with a surprising destination. Then this is the last train depot in a town that once had 3 railroads. We'll explore special rail cars at the Colorado Railroad Museum, and we look back at the colorful history of the Denver Post Cheyenne Frontier Days train. Colorado's Cuchara Valley is dominated by the Spanish Peaks, beautiful country explored by driving the highway of legends, Scenic Byway. The town of Levita lies in the heart of this tucked away corner of our state. That's where we find our Doug Whitehead. And Doug, you found Levita is a bustling railroad town.
Well, Jim, the Rio Grande Scenic Railroad leaves from 2 locations, from over in Alamosa in the San Luis Valley and right here in Levita. And I'm told that this is the most unique railroad anywhere in the state. Oh, there's the whistle. I've got to run.
Riding the train once more.
A cowboy singer, Jim Garland, entertains in the club car of the Rio Grande Scenic Railroad.
Back in the saddle again. Help me out.
As the train pulls out of the small town of Levita, scenes of Colorado's Cuchara Valley fill the windows.
I really had a fun time coming up here today. I was singing some old cowboy songs and watching the great scenery as we come up the tracks.
I sit underneath that great big western sky.
Music provides the mood for this ride out of the valley and into the remote country of Levita Pass.
17 miles of 3% grade and steeper. It's extremely rugged, hardcore mountain railroading. We have sharp turns. We have tunnels of varying lengths. We have amazing vistas.
In fact, it is so remote, the train seems just a nuisance to the wild inhabitants of Levita Pass. How common are bears up here?
They're quite common. We usually see them every day. In fact, there was one time that I had to stop because he was sitting down in the middle of the tracks.
From the other direction, on the west side of the pass, another train, this one from Alamosa in the San Luis Valley, carries passengers up here to the top.
We call this area Fur, Colorado. You can see it's just a great natural setting. We're at 9,400 feet here.
Tunes fill the air from this stage, reached only by train, at the Mountain Rails Live Music Festival. Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, from June through September, riders of the Rio Grande Scenic Railroad, some boarding in Levita, some in Alamosa, have this mountain music venue all to themselves all afternoon.
Ooh, rock the cradle when I'm gone, my darling.
Today's main attraction is longtime folk singer John McCutcheon. He has come to the Rocky Mountains from the Appalachians, the world's oldest mountains.
I remember what my mother said the first time she ever saw these mountains. She said, they're beautiful, God just ain't done with them yet.
I mean, there's no place like this. Getting up here to what has got to be the most fabulous setting for any concert series. It's like a family reunion as much as anything else, because you get to know the people coming up in the train, and then you go back down with them. It's more than a concert, it's a whole experience.
This land is your land.
It's just a little taste of heaven, and you get to see the beauty that God's produced, and it's just a breath of fresh air.
Good morning, America, how are you?
All the day's performers gather on stage for one final song.
It's just more like things we used to do. You're out in the beautiful surroundings, good music, nice people.
The audience heads back to the trains. This place is special even to a seasoned musician.
I talked to my agent and I said, I don't care what it takes. You got to get me on that train next year again.
The state's other tourist trains, like the Durango and Silverton or the Cumbres and Toltec, have made memories for generations of Coloradans. The Rio Grande Scenic Railroad only began regular daytime trips over La Vida Pass in 2006.
We're creating a new generation of parents and grandparents and kids that have an affinity for this particular route.
All along the Colorado
The Mountain Rails Live Summer Concert Series runs every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through the end of September. Find a list of performers, prices, and schedules from either La Vida or Alamosa by logging on to RioGrandeScenicRailroad.com or give them a call toll-free 1-877-726-RAIL. So as long as you're in this historic region to ride the train, stop in the Francisco Fort Museum to learn a little local history.
The legend is that John Francisco came in around the 1850s to the Cuchara Valley and said very famously, "This is paradise enough for me." Right now we're in one of the earlier rooms that was built in the fort. Today it serves as a wonderful Native American collection, one of the largest in southern Colorado.
Museum Director Jennifer Nakarut takes us on a tour of all things La Vida.
This would be another example of what was probably a private apartment at some point in the fort because it does have its own windows and doors. What we have here is the Sanchez Castro family, and so you see our rich Spanish heritage. This is the Ritter Schoolhouse. It was actually built originally in 1876. To get it to the Francisco Plaza where it is today, it was torn down piece by piece, numbered, and rebuilt here.
Learn more by checking out this website, FranciscoFortMuseum.com, and join the fun next Saturday, July 23rd for Francisco Fort Day. A parade, historical reenactments, guided tours, and a lot more. Get to La Vida by taking Interstate 25 south from Pueblo to Walsenburg. Head west and look for signs to Highway 12 and the turnoff to La Vida. The Rio Grande Scenic Railroad runs between Alamosa and La Vida. Trains also run to Monte Vista and south to Antonito to meet up with the Cumbres and Toltec Narrow Gauge Railroad. Learn more about the region on the La Vida Cuchara Chamber of Commerce website. That's lavidacucharachamber.com.
So Doug, welcome back from La Vida, and obviously taking the train opens up all kinds of recreational opportunities.
Well, you can put your mountain bike on the train and ride Forest Service trails back down La Vida Pass. And you know that club car we were in is from the city of New Orleans on the Illinois Central, the old Steve Goodman song. And there's also a barbecue up at the concert site, so there's really no excuse not to ride that train.
Get on board and enjoy.
Go.
All right, Doug, thanks very much. We'll take a break right now and be back to show you Colorado's newest railroad museum on Colorado Getaways.
Colorado Getaways is brought to you by GoPro. Be a hero. GoPro.
Welcome back to Colorado Getaways, checking in from the Colorado Railroad Museum. I'll tell you what, they've got so many fascinating things to see here, but this rail car in particular has a very rich history. It was built in Denver in 1882. Let's talk a little bit more about it. Right now we're joined by one of the museum's board members, Mike Davis. And Mike, a beautiful photograph here that really shows this car in its heyday, doesn't it?
Yes, this was a picture taken back in the 1890s by William Henry Jackson, who traveled around on the railroad taking pictures with glass plate negatives. And this is the Rico car right here that we're standing in.
And Mike Jackson, a renowned photographer, had a special connection to the railroad.
Well, yes, and he took a lot of pictures for the railroads for advertising purposes.
Noted photographer William Henry Jackson took spectacular pictures all over the West. And right now, one of those pictures has become a real focal point for the brand new Buena Vista Depot and Transportation Museum. It's a great place, and the grand opening was just a couple weeks ago.
That's silver bars stacked up there.
Historian Susie Kelly shows off one of the earliest photos of Buena Vista.
Denver South Park used these tracks, and the Denver and Rio Grande.
The Denver South Park and Pacific and the Rio Grande railroads were 2 of 3 railroads to run through town. The Colorado Midland was the 3rd.
That's the Colorado Midland tracks.
It was quite busy, as you can see on some of the pictures around here. The rail yards were busy. Buena Vista was a big center for lettuce.
All 3 railroads built train stations in town.
And that is our depot that we're in right now.
Today, only one survives.
This is the old Denver South Park and Pacific depot, which sat down at the end of Main Street until 1926, when the whole railroad closed down. And when it closed down, the Dodge family bought it and moved it to Woodland Brook Cabins, where they made it the office and they lived in it.
In 2002, fire hit the historic structure. Rather than tear it down, the owners decided to donate the now charred building to Buena Vista Heritage in hopes they would have the resources to restore it.
It got pretty well destroyed in my care, and I was pretty devastated about it, but I just knew that it could be what it is.
The following June, using the insurance money to help fund the move, the depot made the slow trek to its new location, a mere 7 blocks from where it originally stood. Following that, 8 years and more than $300,000 of restoration.
3.
Now flanked by a new restored caboose, the old South Park Depot welcomes visitors to Buena Vista, ready to show them the rich railroad heritage of the town.
Folks' ability to see what an actual railroad actually looked like back in the day is going to be wonderful, and it's going to give everybody a really great sense of history and what it was like to be a railroader.
This is the conductor's desk.
It'll be a crime if 50 years from now some father brought his son in here and they said, "What used to be here?" and the father said, "I don't know." Well, here's the answer.
I'm thrilled. Yes, beyond thrilled. I am.
Learn more about the Buena Vista Depot and Transportation Museum by calling 719-395-8458 or log on to buenavistaheritage.org for information about this and other historic properties in the area. Get here by taking U.S. Highway 285 south to Highway 24. Go north a few miles to Buena Vista. The depot is located in the town park on the northwest corner of the main intersection. Welcome back to the Colorado Railroad Museum. You know, it's too late to snag a seat on next Saturday's Denver Post Cheyenne Frontier Days train ride, but we're lucky enough right now to be joined by former Denver Post columnist Dick Crack. And Dick, I know you've been doing a lot of work trying to chronicle the great history of this very colorful tradition.
Well, you know, we brought it back in 1992 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the paper. And, you know, it's changed a lot through the years. From 1908 to 1970, it was men only. There were reports of ladies of the night on the train. We don't do that anymore. But one thing we've tried to do is maintain the history between Denver and Cheyenne and give people a day out in the Old West. And you know, a lot of people have never ridden a train, and it's a first-time adventure for them.
Well, certainly it's very exciting, the work you've been doing on this new DVD that gives us a great look back. Here are some excerpts, and I'm lucky enough to be your narrator. The first story stretches back to 1908, more than 100 years ago. That year, 100 friends of Post co-owners Harry Tamman and Frederick Bonfils boarded a train in Denver to ride to the Frontier Days Rodeo in Cheyenne, Wyoming. The excursions ran every summer, year after year, skipping 1924 when Tamman died, and then during World War II, the train did not run for 5 years. By the 1950s, the train became the social event of the summer. City government was virtually shut down because the mayor, the council members, and the judges were all headed to Cheyenne. Each of the coaches was stocked with free beer. Guests were given tickets to the rodeo. And everyone enjoyed a dinner of trout, lamb chops, or a 1-pound steak in the diner on the trip home. The most memorable high-profile guest was Lyndon Johnson, who rode the train in 1960 as vice presidential candidate on the Democratic ticket with John Kennedy.
He arrived fully dressed in his cowboy outfit, which he always wore in his ranch, and he had 2 revolvers hanging there fully loaded. And nobody told him that he ought to unload them.
During the last years of the train, the guest list ballooned to almost 1,200 men, whooping it up in 18 coaches and 9 diners. Sewell concluded 1970 had to be the end of the line. Then more than 2 decades passed before the train's rebirth. In 1992, the newspaper was exploring ways to celebrate its 100th anniversary.
So we decided, well, let's bring back the train for just this one time, and lined it up and got cooperation from a lot of people, including the railroad. And we had a wonderful time. And it was so good we decided to do it again. And then we did it again and again and again, and now this is approaching our 20th year of the revival of the train.
Yeah, one particular year we stopped up by the Wyoming and Colorado state line and got Governor Romer, then Governor Romer, and we got Dean Singleton, the publisher of the newspaper, and Phil Landshutz, who at that time owned most of the railroad, and got them up in the cab so they could be in the cab on the arrival at Cheyenne. And it was like they all reverted about 40 years each in age. They had such a good time, they were like a cab full of kids.
The rootin' tootin' days of onboard shenanigans of the all-boys club are gone. Today's train is family-oriented, but it still includes some elements of the old days, such as VIP celebrities, a dance car, and meals on the train. Passengers are treated to a parade in downtown Cheyenne, a catered barbecue, and of course, the spectacle of the Daddy of 'em All Rodeo, first held in 1897 and ranked as the #1 outdoor rodeo in all the world. The Frontier Days train continues to grow in popularity. In fact, every seat on the 2010 excursion sold in 73 minutes. You can get your own copy of the Rails to Rodeo DVD about the Denver Post Cheyenne Frontier Days train. It'll only cost you $19.95. Just log on to cfdtrain.com to place your order and to learn more about the train. Dick, we know the train sells out very quickly, but folks who don't even have a ticket can enjoy it because next Friday, the 22nd, they can go out and get a look at the train.
Right. It'll be available from 2 to 5 p.m. on Friday, and then we leave at 7 o'clock Saturday morning, and they can come down before then and touch the locomotive or whatever they want.
Right at Union Station?
It's actually behind Coors Field this year. We had to move because the station's closed, but it'll be in the parking lot behind Coors.
Yeah, worth a visit. It's a pretty impressive sight.
You can't see something like that every day.
Okay. Dick Crack, thanks very much, sir, and we'll be back with the rest of Colorado Getaways in just a moment. Welcome back to Colorado Getaways. It's that time in every program. We thank our viewers because they've been sending in great pictures to the U Report section at cbsdenver.com. Do you remember that ride we took on the Rio Grande Scenic Railroad? Well, Teresa Grimsley of Alamosa rode the train last August and sent us this picture. Then Justin King of Loveland found this old railroad car between the Kodak plant and the Vestas Wind Power Plant in Windsor. And thanks to Stephen Johnson, Stephen caught this angle of engine 12 on the Devil's Gate Trestle. That's on the Georgetown Loop. Send your photos into the U Report section at cbsdenver.com. And if you'll be riding a train in Colorado anytime soon, I think these are events you'll be interested in. The Cumbres and Toltec will be running 2 Moonlight trains, August 13th and September 17th. Find details at cumbrestoltec.com. Then the 13th annual Rail Fest, coming up August 18th through the 21st on the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad. Special trips and activities, log on to durangotrain.com for more. And the Royal Gorge Route Railroad will be running a wine dinner train. That's September 17th. Get details about this and other special trains at this website, royalgorgeroute.com. Well, we're out of time for this week. Hope you enjoyed our program. We leave you now with music by John McCutcheon at the Mountain Rails Live Summer Concert Series on the Rio Grande Scenic Railroad. See you next time and have some great getaways.
I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me.
Colorado Getaways has been brought to you by GoPro. Be a hero. GoPro.